She stared at the menu like it had just threatened her. Not glanced, not skimmed, stared. Across from me, under the soft gold lights of a rooftop restaurant where every plate arrived looking like a tiny museum exhibit, Avery Hart pressed her lips together and took one slow breath through her nose. Then she looked up and said, quietly enough that only I could hear, "I can't afford this date." The violinist near the bar kept playing, the waiter kept hovering, a woman at the next table kept pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. And I knew right there that whatever I said next was going to decide whether this night became a story we laughed about someday, or one she tried to forget before the elevator reached the lobby. My name is Miles Bennett. I'm 33 years old and I designed kitchens for people who believe a drawer can be emotionally disruptive if the handle is wrong. So yes, I spend a lot of time around money. Too much, probably. Enough to know it can make decent people act strange. Enough to know that a bill folded in the wrong direction can turn into a weapon. Enough to remember my mother at a diner when I was 12, counting quarters under the table while the man she was dating told the waitress, loud enough for the room to hear, "She's cute when she pretends she's independent." I hated him before I even understood why. Since then, I'd had one private rule about dating: never make money part of the performance. Which was why I immediately hated myself for agreeing to meet Avery at Bellwether, a place where the online menu didn't show prices because apparently fear was part of the dining experience. In my defense, I hadn't picked it. My younger sister Jenna had arranged the date after cornering me at a family barbecue with potato salad in one hand and judgment in the other. "You need to meet someone who reads actual books," she'd said, "not cabinet specifications." "I read emails," I told her. "That is not a personality, Miles." Avery worked at a community arts center as a program coordinator. Jenna had met her through some fundraiser involving donated winter coats and amateur jazz, which sounded like exactly the kind of event where my sister would adopt a stranger and assign her to me. "She's funny," Jenna said, "and kind, and she has this look like she's heard every stupid line a man could say and is willing to let you try anyway." That description had stayed with me. Then Avery walked into the restaurant wearing a dark green dress, old black heels, and a silver necklace shaped like a tiny moon, and I forgot at least 3 normal human greetings. She wasn't flashy, she was better than that. She had warm brown eyes, a quick mouth, and the kind of posture that said she'd learned to take up only the space people allowed her, even though she deserved more. When she smiled at the hostess and thanked her by name after hearing it once, I noticed. When she sat down and tucked one foot behind the other under the table like she was bracing for impact, I noticed that too. "You must be Miles," she said. "I'm trying it out," I said. So far, mixed reviews. Her smile tilted. "Jenna said you were dry." "My family prefers low moisture." That got a laugh out of her, a real one. Small, surprised, and warm enough that the whole rooftop seemed less ridiculous for a second. For the first 10 minutes, we were doing well. Better than well. She teased me about designing kitchens for people who didn't cook. I teased her about running art classes for adults who claimed they couldn't draw, and then painted one sad pear for emotional closure. "Sad pears are important," she said, lifting her water glass. "They're the gateway to honest self-expression." I once saw a client cry over backsplash tile. "See, your people need me. My people need supervision." Her eyes held mine a half-second longer than casual. "Maybe you do too." There it was, that little spark. Not loud, not cheap. Just enough that I felt my shoulders loosen and my attention sharpen. I'd been on dates where attraction arrived like a sales pitch. With Avery, it slipped in sideways while she was making fun of pears. Then the menus came. I watched her expression change. Just a flicker at first. The softening around her mouth disappeared. Her fingers tightened on the leather edge. She turned one page, then another, then went, very still. I looked down at mine. $38 for a salad. A salad. Unless they were bringing it out wearing a college degree, that felt aggressive. The waiter appeared with a smile polished to a dangerous shine. "Can I start you with our chilled oysters? Or perhaps the tasting menu? It's very popular for first dates." Avery's cheeks colored. There are moments in life when a man can either become the kind of fool a woman warns her friends about, or he can shut up long enough to notice what is actually happening. I closed my menu. The waiter looked at me. Avery looked at me too, but differently, carefully, like she was waiting for the part where I made it worse. I leaned back and said, "Do you validate emotional damage or just parking?" The waiter blinked. Avery's eyes widened. Then she made a sound that was half laugh, half relief, and quickly covered it with her napkin. The waiter did not laugh. "Excuse me?" "This place is beautiful," I said, "but I think we may have accidentally wandered into a tax bracket neither of us is emotionally prepared for." Avery stared at me. I turned to her. "Do you like tacos?" Her mouth parted a little. "What?" "Tacos. Simple question. Deeply important." Yes. "Good. There's a truck 3 blocks down that has ruined me for all other food. We can leave right now." The waiter's polished smile cracked. "Sir, you haven't ordered." "I know, that's what makes the escape so elegant." Avery lowered her napkin. Her eyes searched my face like she was looking for the joke beneath the joke. "Miles, you don't have to do that. I'm not doing it for you. You're not. No, I also can't afford to pay $40 for lettuce and then pretend I grew as a person." That time, she laughed fully. The woman at the next table looked offended, which only made Avery laugh harder. I put a 20 on the table for the waters and the bread we hadn't touched because my mother raised me with manners and trauma in equal measure. Then I stood and offered Avery my hand. Not like a rescue, like an invitation. She looked at my hand, then at me. For a second, the whole restaurant seemed to go quiet around us. Her face softened, but there was something else there too. Suspicion, maybe, or hope, trying not to embarrass itself. Then she placed her hand in mine. Her palm was warm, and I'll admit, I felt that simple contact all the way up my arm. We walked out under the judgment of rich people and one confused violinist. In the elevator, Avery stood beside me with her arms folded, trying not to smile. "What?" I asked. She shook her head. "Nothing. That is absolutely not nothing. I'm just deciding if you're charming or dangerously under-socialized. Those are not mutually exclusive." She glanced at me, and the spark was back. "You do this often? Flee expensive restaurants with women you just met?" "Only when they're brave enough to tell the truth before appetizers." That quieted her. The elevator numbers slid downward. Avery looked at her reflection in the mirrored doors, then said, "I almost didn't say it. I figured. I was going to order the cheapest thing, pretend I wasn't hungry, and go home mad at myself." I nodded. Classic first date strategy? Starvation with dignity. She smiled, but it faded quickly. "Most men don't react well when money comes up." "No," I said, "most people don't." She looked at me then, really looked, and something passed between us that felt too honest for an elevator with security cameras. When the doors opened, she didn't move right away. "Miles," she said softly, "what if I told you this is the first date I've been on in 2 years?" I kept my hand near the door so it wouldn't close on us. "Then I'd say, I'm honored you chose to spend it committing restaurant crimes with me." Her lips curved, but her eyes stayed serious. Outside, the city was warm and loud, full of headlights and late summer air. We walked side by side toward the corner, close enough that our shoulders brushed once, then again. Neither of us moved away. At the taco truck, she ordered carnitas with extra lime and insisted on paying for her own. "I can get it," I said. "I know," she replied. "That's not the point." No argument here. She studied me. "Really? Really?" "Wow," she said. "A man who doesn't turn the bill into a personality test." "I have other flaws." "I assumed." We ate standing at a little metal counter under a string of buzzing lights. Salsa dripped onto my sleeve. Avery laughed and handed me a napkin before I even asked. Her fingers brushed my wrist, and this time neither of us pretended not to notice. "This is better," she said. "Than bellwether?" "Than pretending." There was something in her voice that made me stop chewing. She looked down at her taco, then back at me. "Can I tell you something embarrassing?" "Only if I get to tell you something equally embarrassing after." "Deal." She took a breath. When I said I couldn't afford the date, I expected you to look disappointed." I frowned. Why? Because the last man I dated said he wanted someone low maintenance, then spent 6 months making me feel small for every normal thing I couldn't pay for. The taco truck generator hummed behind us. I felt that old anger rise in me, the kind with my mother's face attached to it. But Avery wasn't asking me to be angry for her. She was letting me see something. There was a difference. So I kept my voice steady. For the record, you didn't look small in there. She swallowed. You looked honest, I said. There's a difference. Her eyes shone under the string lights, and for one dangerous second I thought she might step closer. I wanted her to, more than I should have on a first date that had begun with financial panic and illegal bread abandonment. Instead, she looked away with a shaky laugh. Your turn. My embarrassing thing? Yes, you promised. I wiped my hands on a napkin. I spent 20 minutes before this date trying to decide if my shirt said stable adult man or divorced youth pastor. Avery nearly choked. It's a valid concern, I said. She touched my sleeve, still laughing. It says stable adult man. Thank God, with mild youth pastor undertones. I can live with mild. She didn't take her hand away right away. Her fingers rested lightly against my forearm, and the teasing between us softened into something quieter. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it. The color drained from her face so fast I noticed before I could stop myself from noticing. A message lit the screen from someone named Travis. You're at Bellwether with him? Seriously? Avery snatched the phone up, but not before I saw the second message arrive. Tell Miles what you really need before he finds out from me. Avery locked her phone so quickly the screen went black under her thumb. For a moment, all the city noise seemed to step backward. The traffic, the laughter from the bar across the street, the hiss of meat on the taco truck grill. She looked at me like someone waiting for a door to slam. I hated that look. Not because of Travis, I didn't know him yet, because she clearly did. I'm sorry, she said too fast. That was rude. The phone? The everything? She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I should probably go. There it was, the retreat. I could have let her. A decent man probably would have said, no worries, nice meeting you, and watched her disappear with half a taco and whatever secret had just put fear in her shoulders. But I didn't want the date to end with her alone, swallowing panic on a sidewalk. And selfishly, I didn't want the date to end at all. Avery, I said. She paused with her purse strap halfway up her shoulder. You don't owe me an explanation. Her expression flickered. But if you leave because some guy sent a message designed to embarrass you, he gets to decide how tonight ends. She looked down at the pavement. I softened my voice. I'd rather you decide. The taco truck lights buzzed above us. A strand of hair had slipped loose near her cheek, and I had the sudden, dangerous urge to tuck it back. I didn't. First dates had rules, even when they involved fleeing restaurants. Avery breathed out a laugh with no humor in it. You make that sound simple. I'm a kitchen designer. I make everything sound simple until the plumbing shows up. That earned me the smallest smile. Is Travis an ex? I asked. Her mouth tightened. Unfortunately, yes. Do I need to hate him now or later? Later, she said, if you want the full experience. I'm very thorough. This time her smile stayed a little longer. Then she glanced toward the corner where the restaurant glowed 3 blocks away like a very expensive accusation. He must have seen me go in, or someone told him he works nearby. Does he bother you often? She hesitated, and I could see the answer before she said it. Sometimes, she admitted. Mostly messages, comments, little reminders that he knows things. What things? Her grip tightened on her purse strap. I lifted both hands slightly. You still don't owe me. I know, she swallowed. That's what makes me want to tell you. The honesty of that hit me harder than I expected. Avery looked away watching a cab roll past. My dad got sick last year. I helped with bills. Then the art center cut my hours for a while. I fell behind on everything. Travis covered one rent payment when we were still together, and he's been using it like a leash ever since. I said nothing, not because I had nothing to say, because the wrong words were crowded at the front of my mouth, angry ones, heroic ones, useless ones. She looked back at me, chin raised like she was daring me to flinch. There. That's the scandal. I'm not secretly married. I'm not running a crime ring. I just owe money to a man who likes owning the story. Thank you for telling me. Her eyes narrowed. That's it? That's it. No lecture? I left my lecture pants at home. A laugh escaped her before she could stop it. I leaned against the counter beside her. For what it's worth, I don't think needing help makes you less impressive. It doesn't make me feel impressive. No, it rarely does. She studied me. You say that like you know. I looked at the city for a second. There were things I usually saved for much later, after enough dinners and jokes and careful distance. But she just handed me something real. I didn't want to answer with polish. My mom raised me and my sister mostly alone, I said. There were months when the electric bill was more of a suggestion than a certainty. I learned early that money can turn people mean. Or quiet. Sometimes both. Avery's face changed. Not pity. Recognition. My mother used to count coins in her coat pocket before we went into the grocery store, I said. She'd pretend she was looking for her keys. My dad did that, Avery whispered. With coupons, like if he joked enough, we wouldn't notice. We stood there shoulder to shoulder, tacos cooling. The first date suddenly less like a first date and more like finding someone in a room you didn't know you'd both been locked inside. Then Avery bumped her shoulder lightly against mine. Okay, she said. Your tragic backstory has depth. I'll allow a second taco. Generous. I'm known for mercy. I was hoping you were known for dessert. Her brows lifted. That depends. On whether you're going to keep being charming or start acting weird because I have debt and an ex with boundary issues. I turned to face her fully. Avery, I was acting weird long before I met you. She laughed. And I'm not interested in Travis, I said. I'm interested in you. The words came out simple. Too simple, maybe, but they were true. Her smile faded into something softer. The air between us changed again, warming. Careful, she said quietly. That almost sounded sincere. It was. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she reached over and brushed a crumb from the front of my shirt with her fingertips. The touch was small. It did not feel small. There, she said. Stable adult man restored. With mild youth pastor undertones? Always. We ordered 2 more tacos and a paper cup of cinnamon churros from the truck. Avery insisted on splitting them for structural fairness, then stole the crispest one and claimed it was a tax. We walked after that slowly, with no destination either of us admitted to. The city softened around us. At a crosswalk, her hand brushed mine once, then again. The third time, she hooked her pinky around mine. I looked down. She looked straight ahead, expression innocent. Don't make it weird. I would never. You absolutely would. Yes, but I'm growing. Her fingers slid fully into my hand. There were no violins this time, no rooftop lights, just a traffic signal blinking red, churro sugar on her thumb, and Avery choosing to hold my hand on a sidewalk after telling me something she'd expected me to judge. I squeezed once. She squeezed back. We ended up at a tiny park wedged between apartment buildings, the kind with 2 benches, 1 tired tree, and a fountain that sounded like it had regrets. Avery sat beside me close enough that her knee touched mine. I'm glad I didn't leave, she said. Me too. She turned her face toward me. I almost did. I know. Not because of you. I know that too. Her eyes searched mine. Do you always know the right thing to say? No, earlier today I told a client her pantry had excellent emotional range. Avery laughed softly, then went quiet. The quiet stretched, but not awkwardly. Her gaze dropped to my mouth, then back to my eyes. My heart did something embarrassingly adolescent. I leaned in a little, giving her time to move away. She didn't. Instead, Avery whispered, If you kiss me because you feel sorry for me, I'll push you into that depressing fountain. I'm kissing you because you're funny, I said, and honest. And you stole the best churro without remorse. Her lips curved. Acceptable. So I kissed her, gently at first. A first date kiss. A question. Then her hand came to my jaw, warm and certain, and she answered. The city didn't vanish. People always say that, but it didn't. A siren passed somewhere far off. The fountain coughed behind us. Someone laughed from an open window above. But Avery's fingers slid into my hair, and for a few seconds the world became very easy to understand. When we pulled apart, she stayed close. That was a terrible first date, she murmured. Historically bad. I'd do it again? My chest tightened in a way I wasn't ready to name. Tomorrow? Her eyes widened, then warmed. That's very confident for a man with salsa on his sleeve. I'm full of contradictions. She was about to answer when her phone buzzed again. This time, she didn't hide it. She looked at the screen, then handed it to me with a tired little smile. Travis had sent a photo of us sitting on the park bench. Under it, one line. Ask him why his sister really set you two up. I read the message twice. Ask him why his sister really set you two up. Avery watched my face, not the phone. That told me enough. Travis wasn't just trying to scare her. He was trying to make her doubt the one good thing the night had given us. Me. I handed the phone back. Well, that's dramatic. Her mouth twitched, but her eyes were guarded. Is it true? I don't know what he means. That's not a no. No, I said carefully. It's not. Because my sister has the subtlety of a marching band falling downstairs. There may be something I don't know. Avery looked toward the fountain. The kiss was still between us, warm and new, but now there was a wall being built around it, one brick at a time. I didn't want to push. I also didn't want silence to do Travis's work for him. Call her, Avery said. I blinked. Now? Yes. You want me to call my sister during our first date? Our first date has included restaurant evacuation, financial disclosure, surveillance photography, and churros. I think we've earned a sibling interrogation. Fair point. I put Jenna on speaker. She answered on the second ring. If you're calling to thank me, I accept cash, compliments, or proof that you didn't wear the gray shirt. Avery raised one eyebrow. I closed my eyes. Hello to you too. Oh no, Jenna said. You wore the gray shirt. It's blue. It's emotionally gray. Avery pressed her lips together, fighting a smile. Jenna, I said, I'm here with Avery. There was a tiny pause. Hi, Avery. Hi, Avery said. Your brother fled a restaurant with me. Green flag, Jenna said immediately. I thought so, Avery replied, and my chest did something stupid. I cleared my throat. We got a message from her ex. He said she should ask me why you really set us up. The silence changed. Not guilty exactly, but not innocent. Jenna, I said. She sighed. Okay, before you both make that tone at me. We haven't made a tone, Avery said, and you're making it spiritually. Jenna exhaled. I did set you up because I thought you'd like each other. That part is true. And the other part? I asked. Another pause. The Arts Center is applying for a community renovation grant, Jenna said. They need concept drawings for their teaching kitchen. I told the board I might know someone who could help. Avery went still beside me. I felt my stomach drop. You told them I would do it. No, I told them I'd ask you. You didn't ask me. I was going to. When? During the wedding toast at our future anniversary? Avery made a small sound that might have been a laugh if it hadn't hurt. Jenna's voice softened. Avery, I swear I didn't set you up as a project. I like you. And Miles has been emotionally unavailable in a very boring way for years. I thought, Jenna, I warned. No, let her finish, Avery said quietly. Jenna sighed again. I thought you two would actually see each other, that's all. The kitchen thing was separate. But Travis knew, Avery said. He overheard me at the fundraiser, Jenna admitted. He was hovering around the donor table like a haunted LinkedIn profile. I didn't think... No, Avery cut in, not sharply, but firmly. He listens for anything he can use. I'm sorry, Jenna said. Really, I should have told both of you. I looked at Avery. Her face was calm in the way people get when they're trying not to show they've been embarrassed. I'll call you later, I told Jenna. Miles, later. I ended the call. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Avery stood, not storming off, worse. quietly gathering herself. I should go, she said. I stood too, but kept space between us. Avery. She gave me a sad smile. It's okay. It's not. It kind of is. Jenna meant well, you didn't know. Nobody committed a felony. Low bar for a first date. That almost got her. Almost. She looked at me and I saw the real wound under the surface. I just don't like feeling like I walked into a room where everyone knew something about my life except me. I nodded slowly. I understand. Do you? Yes. Her eyes sharpened. I deserve that. So I told her the truth. When I was 26, my boss sent me to meet a client. Huge job. I thought he trusted my work. Found out later the client had requested someone relatable because they'd grown up poor too, and my boss had told them my whole childhood story like it was a sales feature. Avery's expression shifted. I quit 3 months later, I said. Not because of the job, because I couldn't stand wondering which parts of me were being used in conversations I wasn't invited to. Her shoulders lowered a fraction. The fountain gurgled behind us. I'm sorry, she said. Me too. She looked down at her phone, then tucked it into her purse. I believe you didn't know. Relief moved through me, but I didn't step closer. Not yet. And I believe Jenna likes me, she added. Which is inconvenient because I was prepared to be very dignified and offended. She does have that effect. But I don't want to be your charity connection, Miles. You're not. If you help the Arts Center now, I won't unless you ask me. Her eyes met mine. And if you ask me, I said, I'll say yes because I like you. Because the center matters to you, and because I'm annoyingly good at kitchens, not because I think you need saving. She studied me. That's a very polished answer. I can make it worse. Please do. I also want a second date so badly I'm trying not to look desperate, and I'm concerned my face isn't cooperating. There. Her smile broke through, reluctant and beautiful. Your face is failing, she said. Catastrophically? Moderately. I'll take it. The distance between us shrank by 1 step. She took it, not me. I don't want to go home upset, she admitted. Not after that kiss. My pulse kicked. It was a good kiss. It was an excellent kiss. Don't get smug. Too late. She laughed softly, then reached for my hand again. Her fingers slid into mine with less hesitation this time, and the simple trust of it almost undid me. Walk me? She asked. Anywhere. Dangerous answer. I stand by it. We walked back through the city slower than necessary. At a bakery window, she stopped to admire a display of tiny lemon cakes even though the shop was closed. I love lemon desserts, she said. Noted. That sounded ominous. It was romantic research. She leaned her shoulder into mine. You're taking notes? Mentally. Avery Hart likes tacos, honest men, sad pears, and lemon cake. And men who don't panic when ex-boyfriends try to ruin the evening. I was panicking internally, very masculine, very silent. She turned, still holding my hand, and looked up at me under the bakery awning. I'm sorry he dragged you into this. I'm not. Her brows pulled together. I don't like why it happened, I said. But I'm not sorry I'm standing here with you. The guardedness in her face softened into something open enough to make my throat tight. She rose on her toes and kissed me. Not a question this time. A choice. Her hand pressed against my chest, right over my heart, and I felt myself answer before I even moved. One hand at her waist, the other still tangled with hers. She tasted faintly of cinnamon, sugar, and lime. When she pulled back, she stayed close, forehead nearly touching mine. Second date, she whispered. Tomorrow. I smiled. Lemon cake and coffee. And no hidden agendas. And no emotionally gray shirts. Cruel but fair. Her phone stayed quiet the rest of the walk, and I was grateful. We talked about normal things, her worst art class disaster, my most unreasonable client, whether soup counted as a meal or a beverage with confidence issues. By the time we reached her building, the night felt like ours again. Avery paused at the door. I had a good time somehow. High praise. I mean it. She squeezed my hand, Thank you for not making me regret telling the truth. I wanted to kiss her again. I also wanted to leave her with certainty, not pressure. So I lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles instead. Her breath caught. Tomorrow, I said. She nodded, smiling now. Tomorrow. I waited until she got inside, then turned toward my car. My phone buzzed before I reached the corner. Jenna, I'm sorry. Call me when you can. There's something else you should know about Travis. I called Jenna from my car. She answered like she'd been holding the phone against her face. Before you yell, I'm not yelling. You're doing the quiet voice. That's worse. That's dad voice. We don't have a dad voice. We invented one emotionally. I pinched the bridge of my nose. What do I need to know about Travis? Jenna went quiet. He's on the donor committee for the Arts Center grant. Of course he was. He's not the final decision, she rushed on. But he has influence. I didn't realize until tonight that he and Avery had history. She never talks about him. Because he sounds like the kind of man women stop naming so he takes up less space. Jenna exhaled. Yeah. I looked back toward Avery's building. Her apartment light had come on, third floor, left side, a small square of gold in the dark. What does he want? I asked. Control, Jenna said. Probably attention. Possibly to make sure she doesn't get something good without him attached to it. I thought of Avery under the bakery awning, rising on her toes to kiss me like she was choosing joy on purpose. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Don't go caveman, Jenna warned. I'm not. You're thinking about it in a tasteful, well-designed way. I almost smiled. I'm thinking this is Avery's information to handle, not mine. Good, Jenna said softly. That's the brother I was hoping would show up. I deserve that. The next morning I texted Avery. Miles, I have 2 important questions. Avery, if one is whether soup is a beverage, I'm blocking you. Miles, worse. Lemon cake before coffee or after? Avery, during, I contain multitudes. Miles, second question. Can I wear the emotionally gray shirt if I bring flowers? Avery, depends. Are the flowers also emotionally gray? Miles, yellow. Avery, risky. Pick me up at 6. At 6, I stood outside her building with a small bunch of yellow tulips and a blue shirt so aggressively cheerful, I felt like a children's television host. Avery came out wearing jeans, a white blouse, and red lipstick. That nearly erased my ability to form language. She stopped on the top step and looked me over. Wow. Too much? You look like you're here to teach a seminar on optimism. I panicked. Her laughter warmed the sidewalk. Then she saw the tulips and her expression softened in a way that made the panic worth it. These are beautiful, she said. I asked the florist for not emotionally gray. Strong brief. She took them, then surprised me by stepping close and kissing my cheek. Her lips were warm, quick, and not nearly enough. Hi, she said. Hi, I managed. We went to a little cafe with mismatched chairs and lemon cakes in a glass case. Avery insisted we order 2 forks and 1 slice because romance is mostly portion negotiation. I thought romance was longing, I said. Only before dessert arrives. We sat by the window. Outside, rain tapped gently against the glass, turning the streetlights blurry. Avery placed the tulips in an empty water carafe between us. For a while, the world behaved. She told me about the arts center, how the kids' pottery class always ended in clay on the ceiling, how the senior watercolor group had a rivalry with the teen mural club, how the teaching kitchen wasn't just a kitchen. It was where they held cheap family cooking nights, after-school snacks, nutrition workshops, birthday cupcakes for kids whose parents couldn't afford parties. When she talked about it, her whole face lit from within. I liked her laugh. I liked her mouth. I liked the way she challenged me. But watching her describe something she loved, that was the moment attraction turned into something deeper and more inconvenient. You're staring, she said. I'm listening aggressively. No, that's staring. Fine. I like watching you talk about what matters to you. Her fork paused over the cake. I expected a joke. She seemed to expect one from herself, too. Instead, she said, that scares me a little. What does? Being seen when I'm not performing. The cafe noise softened around us. I leaned forward. You don't have to perform with me. Her smile was small. You say that on date 2. Date 7, you may discover I cry at insurance commercials and alphabetize spices when stressed. I design kitchens. Alphabetized spices are my love language. That is the most disturbing thing you've said. I'm a complex man. She laughed, but her eyes stayed tender. Then she reached across the table and threaded her fingers through mine, right beside the lemon cake. Jenna told you about Travis being on the committee, didn't she? I turned my hand palm up, holding hers properly. Yes? Thank you for not opening with that. It's your life. I'm trying not to stomp through it wearing helpful boots. Helpful boots, she repeated. Awful image. I workshop nothing. She ran her thumb once over my knuckles. He texted me this morning. Said if I kept seeing you, people might question whether the Arts Center was trying to influence your firm for free work. Anger rose, but I held onto her hand instead of the anger. What do you want to do? I asked. She searched my face. You're asking? Yes. I want to not let him turn everything good into a trap. Then we don't. Her breath shook, just once. And I want to keep seeing you, she said. Even if it's messy? There it was. The clear step. Not dramatic. Better. I brought her hand to my mouth and kissed her fingers. I want that too. Her eyes went bright. Good. Good. You're very eloquent when emotionally overwhelmed. I'm saving my better words for cake. After coffee, the rain had slowed to a mist. We walked beneath my umbrella close enough that her hip brushed mine with every other step. Halfway down the block, she slipped her arm around my waist. I looked at her. What? She said. Shared umbrella physics. Of course. Don't make it romantic. It is objectively romantic. She smiled up at me. Fine, a little. We stopped under the awning of a closed bookstore. Rain ticked on the metal above us. Avery looked up at me and the teasing fell away. I don't want to be careful with you all the time, she said. Then don't. Her hand slid to the back of my neck and she pulled me down into a kiss. This one had rain in it. Lemon sugar, nerves, want. Her body pressed close to mine, under the umbrella, and I wrapped an arm around her waist not to steady her, but because she fit there like a thought I'd been trying to finish. When we parted, she stayed against me. I'm glad you answered the way you did at Bellwether, she whispered. What answer? When I said I couldn't afford the date. I brushed a raindrop from her cheek with my thumb. I'm glad you said it. She closed her eyes for half a second, leaning into my touch. Then my phone buzzed. I ignored it. Avery's mouth curved. Popular? Deeply, mostly with cabinet suppliers. It buzzed again. She sighed. Check it. If it's your sister, she'll manifest behind us. It wasn't Jenna. Unknown number. A photo filled the screen. Avery and me under the bookstore awning, kissing. Below it, cute. The committee meeting is tomorrow. Let's see how romantic unemployment feels. Avery read the message on my phone. For 1 second, she went perfectly still beneath the bookstore awning. Then she laughed. Not because it was funny, because apparently there was a point where fear got so repetitive it became boring. Romantic unemployment, she said. That's new. I looked down at her. Are you okay? No. She handed the phone back. But I'm also done letting him narrate my life. That was the first moment I understood the difference between someone needing rescue and someone deciding she was finished being cornered. Avery stepped out from under my umbrella and into the misty rain. Her red lipstick had faded from our kiss, and her hair was curling at the edges. She looked furious, beautiful, and more herself than she had all night. I'm going to the committee meeting tomorrow, she said. Okay. And I'm telling them Travis has been threatening me. Good. And you are not going to storm in and threaten him back. I put a hand over my chest. You wound me. Miles. I was only going to storm in with excellent posture. Her mouth twitched. No storming. No storming, I promised. She stepped back under the umbrella, close enough that our shoulders touched. But will you come with me? Anywhere, I said again. This time she smiled like she believed me. The next afternoon, Avery walked into the art center wearing the same green dress from our first date and a look that could have cut glass. I wore a navy shirt, no emotional gray, no optimism seminar, neutral support fabric. The meeting was in a room with folding chairs, bad coffee, and children's paintings taped to the walls. Travis sat at the far end of the table in an expensive suit, looking like a man who had practiced concern in a mirror. When he saw me, his smile sharpened. When he saw Avery, it faltered. Because she didn't look ashamed, she looked ready. The committee chair, a woman named Mrs. Alvarez with silver hair and terrifying glasses, began with polite introductions. Then Avery stood. Her voice shook for the first sentence. By the second, it didn't. She told them about the messages, about the rent payment he kept holding over her, about the photos, about the threat to interfere with the grant if she kept seeing me. Travis leaned back, scoffing. This is personal drama. It has nothing to do with... Mrs. Alvarez held up one finger. He stopped talking. I fell a little in love with her too, platonically. Avery placed printed screenshots on the table. Not theatrically, not triumphantly, just clearly. I'm not asking you to punish him for being my ex, she said. I'm asking you to decide whether someone using this grant process to pressure an employee belongs on this committee. The room went quiet. Travis tried to smile. Avery has always been emotional about money. My whole body went hot. But Avery reached back without looking and found my hand. Not because she needed me to speak, because she wanted me there. So I stayed silent and held on. Mrs. Alvarez removed her glasses. Mr. Vale, you are dismissed from this meeting pending review. His face changed. You can't. I can, she said. And I have. It was not dramatic. No one clapped. There was no cinematic music. Travis grabbed his phone and left with the stiff walk of a man who had expected power and found witnesses instead. Only after the door closed did Avery's hand tremble in mine. I leaned close. Still no storming. She let out a breath that was almost a laugh. You were very restrained. I aged 7 years. Handsomely. Good to know. The committee voted to continue reviewing the grant without Travis. They also asked if my firm would be willing to submit a formal proposal for the teaching kitchen, fully documented, fully disclosed, and paid at a reduced non-profit rate. Avery glanced at me. I glanced back. This mattered. Not the kitchen, not the contract, the choosing. I'll submit if Avery wants me to, I said. Every eye moved to her. Avery's chin lifted. I do. There it was again. Not rescue. Partnership. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sidewalk shone and the air smelled like wet pavement and possibility. Avery stood on the art center steps, staring straight ahead. You okay? I asked. She nodded, then shook her head, then laughed. I don't know. I think I just got my life back and forgot where I put it. I stepped in front of her. Maybe start small. With what? I held out my hand. Dinner. Her eyes softened. Can you afford this date? I looked at her, remembering that rooftop menu, the way her voice had gone quiet, the courage it took to say the thing most people hide. Then I gave her the answer I should have given even faster that first night. I can afford honesty, I said. Tacos are negotiable. She stared at me. Then she laughed so hard she had to grab my sleeve. And right there on the steps of the art center with children's paintings in the windows behind her, Avery kissed me like the future had opened a door. By the following spring, the teaching kitchen was finished. The first class was a family pasta night. Kids dusted flour on their own noses. Parents chopped tomatoes at butcher block counters I had measured 3 times because Avery kept leaning over my shoulder and distracting me. You designed this island too tall, she whispered during the opening party. I designed it to code. I'm 5'4", your code is oppressive. You approved the plans. I was blinded by affection. I turned to her. Affection? She pretended to inspect a cabinet hinge. Mild affection. We lived together. Moderate affection. You alphabetized my spices. Extreme stress response. You labeled oregano. It deserved clarity. I laughed and she smiled at me in that way I'd learned to recognize. The one that said she was teasing because the real thing underneath was too tender to hold in public. Her father recovered enough to come to the opening. My mother cried over the backsplash, which felt poetic. Jenna took credit for everything and was only partially wrong. Travis disappeared from the donor committee, then from the art center entirely. Sometimes the old fears still found Avery. A sudden buzz of her phone, a bill in the mail, a restaurant with no prices on the menu. But now, when something scared her, she didn't shrink. She reached for my hand, for the truth, for the life she was building, and I reached back every time. 1 year after that first terrible date, I took Avery back to Bellwether. Not to eat. Absolutely not. We stood outside under the same gold lights, dressed up for no practical reason. She wore the green dress again. I wore a shirt she had approved after rejecting 3 for vague accountant energy. "Full circle," she said, looking at the entrance. "Do you want to go in?" She looked at the menu posted near the door, then at me. Not even a little. Thank God. I pulled 2 wrapped tacos from inside my coat. Avery gasped. Miles Bennett. Carnitas, extra lime. Her eyes went bright. "You brought tacos to a restaurant? I believe in closure. You believe in crimes. Romantic crimes." She took one, laughing, and we walked to the little park with the regretful fountain. It was still there, still coughing water like it had secrets. We sat on the same bench. Avery leaned against me, her head on my shoulder, taco balanced carefully in both hands. I felt her warmth through my jacket, the steady weight of her beside me. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't said it?" she asked. "That you couldn't afford the date?" She nodded. I looked at the fountain, then at her. "I think I might have missed the bravest woman I know." She went quiet. Then she set her taco down, took my face in her hands, and kissed me slowly under the park lights. No panic. No audience. No one else writing the story. Just Avery choosing me. Just me choosing her back. And when she pulled away, smiling with tears in her eyes, I knew the most expensive thing on that first date had never been the menu. It was the risk of telling the truth. What would you have done if your date looked across the table and said, "I can't afford this date"? Have you ever experienced something similar where honesty changed everything? Tell your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.